basically boils down to three major issues. Firstly, the validity of Kyoto. Secondly, the environment. And thirdly, the US economy. And I'm going to go through these 3 points and show you why you should most definitely vote negative today. So firstly, it's the validity of Kyoto. Now, the affirmative side today tells you that Kyoto was unfair. Back then, we didn't know that global warming was happening. And we think this is preposterous. We have three responses to this. Firstly, we weren't living in a stone age. It was 1997, and Kyoto was rejected by the United States in 2000. We believe by then that most of us realized that climate change was going to be a problem. We really can't understand how these countries, these European nations with advanced technology and intellectuals agreed to sign on to Kyoto if the evidence was as spurious as the affirmative side would have you believe. But we also think that there's inherent contradiction in their case, because they say that mayors in the United States were willing to do grassroots level movements, which only goes to show you that people in the United States realized that climate change was a pressing issue. But I'd like to move on to my second response to this, which is that Kyoto had inherent mechanisms in it to address the fact that it was imperfect. Claudia and Mark already told you that within Kyoto, there were clauses that said that there would be a sharing of information and technology. This was completely unaddressed by the affirmative side, and therefore still stand at the end of this round. But thirdly, we believe that even if it was imperfect, as the affirmative side would have you believe, it was an important first step and a global consensus. We think, as my excellent partners have pointed out to you consistently during this round, in order to address climate change, there has to be an international consensus, and that it was not good enough to have grassroots levels or mayors trying to address the issue. But moving on to the second issue of the environment. Now, Anna comes up and tells you that they care about the environment, which I think is kind of surprising, because they didn't really address any of our substantive arguments in terms of how this damaged the environment. But they tell you that grassroots levels was enough. Logan rejects our argument that the government should have done something as a debate about federalism. This is preposterous. This has nothing to do with federalism. This is about whether the government is actively going to take a stance and make a change. We told you that in terms of the environment, disasters have happened because the United States stepped back a global consensus by 12 years. And therefore, the United States is a main culprit for what is happening today. We told you that when the government sits on the sidelines, there is not enough support for an initiative that deserves attention. Please don't forget our two arguments made by Claudia, continued on by Mark, that wasn't addressed adequately by the affirmative, that because the United States didn't sign Kyoto, it delayed a response to climate change. In other words, because the United States didn't sign Kyoto and encouraged people to quibble over the causes of climate change, effectively because we were too busy arguing about this, we weren't able to come up with a quick response. And the United States was the main culprit for this. But we also give you our excellent second argument about it's more difficult to address the problem now. We think that we agree that the United States might have had dirty development, right? But we think that if they had, lack of green technology or infrastructure, they have to deal with it eventually. We told you that if they dealt with it in 1997, it will be much better for the economy now. We told you that right now we're in a recession, and therefore it's much more difficult to care about the environment. But we're doing it anyway because we realize that it's better for the environment, and the environment is a good resource. Which ties me on nicely to my third and final hash of this round, right? It's about the United States economy, whether Kyoto would have really damaged the US economy. And they tell you that, the United States had a difficult time, they were in a bad state, and, they're not rich enough to deal with this issue. But we think this is absolutely preposterous, considering that if Americans can afford to drink their morning lattes and drive, Volkswagens, they have enough money to invest in such initiatives, especially when other European countries were willing to sacrifice some part of their economy in order to cater to the environment, which, as our team stated consistently, is a great economic resource. We told you that if the United States could do it on the grassroots, they could also do it on a governmental level. If the people were willing to do it, then the government could have supported it and sent out a better message to the rest of the world that it's available and it's not as difficult or costly as the affirmative would have you believe. So we told you in essence that Kyoto, the fact that the United States didn't sign Kyoto was another one of the major mistakes that George Bush made during his administration. We told you as a team that there's really one important thing for you guys to consider. That in 1997 there was a chance for us to make a change both for the environment and the economy. The United States failed to do so and had a major impact for the rest of the world. It's on these grounds which we urge you to vote against.
Next round, Where's the environment? I want to kill it.